Welcome to Peiwen's Note. Today we have the young and talented, world-renowned cellist, Mr. Daniel Müller-Schott with us. And Daniel,
hello, it's a pleasure
welcome
to be here.
back to Taiwan again.
Thank you.
Last year, a year ago, I saw you play cello concerto with NSO Symphony.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I used to work a long time ago. And tell us what you're going to bring to play this time.
Well, last time I came to Taiwan, I played Walton Cello Concerto, and that was a great joy to bring something more unusual, more unknown.
Did you like the Taipei Concert Hall?
Yes, I loved it, and the audience was so enthusiastic. And this time to come with, the cello concerto, the most famous one of all times, the Dvorak concerto, is really a great joy, and I'm tremendously looking forward to be playing it tomorrow.
I can't wait to hear you play the Dvorak. And I know growing up in childhood, you're actually a prodigy. Can you tell us?
Well, more or less.
Share that with us a little bit. At what age you began to play cello?
Well, I started when I was 5 years old, and as I said before, my mother was actually the initial person to really introduce me into music.
What instrument did she play?
Yeah, she plays harpsichord. She was a harpsichord player, but also a piano teacher, and so she wanted her children, my brother and me, to be introduced to all kinds of different orchestra instruments. And so she took us into rehearsals, and it happened that with 5 years, I was taken to a rehearsal where Yo-Yo Ma played Schumann Cello Concerto, and I was just stunned by the way how the cello sounds, how it's being played, like you hug the instrument. It's a very sensual way to produce the sound, and that's what fascinated me, and that's why I wanted to learn the cello.
And what city was this, in Munich?
That was in Munich, in my hometown, yes.
Oh, and that's a very interesting. Have you ever played any instrument before you begin the cello?
Well, I started with the flute, but that doesn't really count. The recorder, yes, just like all the children's in Germany, they ascend to these classes, and they start maybe with the drums and then the flute, musical class, and I was also one of those childs, and but I was just happy to play a real instrument, and then really start with the cello.
How many brothers, sisters, a sibling in your family?
I have one brother, and he played he started with the piano, but then he tried different wind instruments, and then he decided to actually study law and become a lawyer. So he's totally went into
lawyer, and you are, according to the record, Daniel is the best cellist of our modern time. And I read that you are also in the documentary film coming up of greatest cellist of today.
Really?
Can you
that's
tell
a
me? Can you tell me about it? Or do you know about?
No, actually, this is the first time I hear.
Well, at least
about
you're in my documentary now. I'm visiting Taipei. And okay, growing up, since you were a small child till that you were adult, who is the biggest cello idol?
Well, first,
or how many of?
First, of course, hearing Yo-Yo Ma the first time, he and his recordings were very dear to me, very present in my youth, and I was listening to Heinrich Schiff, one of my later teachers.
Your teacher.
Yes, and
he's German, right?
He's Austrian. He's from Austria, and he still teaches in Vienna, and so I grew up with those recordings. But then, of course, the big Rostropowitsch was also one of my idols in my youth, and I was fortunate enough to have some lessons with him and to get in contact with him when I was 17.
You are brilliant, and you are very lucky. I only took
one
lesson with
Mr.
Rostropowitsch in Taiwan, just one. But
and you heard him in a concert.
Yes, and back in Lincoln Center many times, and he came to Taiwan 10 times.
Oh wow!
And later on, I was an NSO cello
Stayed
member.
in this hotel. Yes, that's what I just found out when you go here and you see the photo, and it brings back all the memories.
Tell me a little bit about Rostropowitsch. Do you think?
Well, it was
he
really
have a full of energy.
Oh,
how did
it's
he
incredible.
Teach you?
I mean,
every time for one single lesson, how did he teach, and how long would it last?
Well, first of all, it was it was always a mystery when the lesson is going to begin, and where it's. I was only 17, and I was
very young.
Yes, and I was playing for him. Actually, to audition for him was already very complicated because he's so busy. At the time, he was conducting and playing the piano, accompanying his wife, then playing the cello. And he moved to America. He was in Washington, and
you were in Germany?
I was in Germany, and I knew that he had a festival in France in Evian.
In Paris?
In
or?
Evian, like I think southern France, and so I was asked to go there and to just audition for him, and so I was in the festival, and I talked to him, and he said of course he would like to hear me, but I should wait, I should go there to listen to the rehearsals, to the concerts. And then in the middle of the night he said, okay, now is the moment, you have to play. and then I just took out the cello and played for him. And he was so generous and very warm, and just said that he would like to give me lessons for the future, and what he just proposed, what I should study. And of course he mentioned his composer friends like Shostakovich, Prokofiev, Britten, Benjamin Britten was very prominent. And so from time to time I could go to his concerts and play for him. So that was just, I was very fortunate to do that.
But when he teaches you this in America, did it take place in Washington DC?
Actually, he was in America. I never had a lesson, but I knew that he was teaching at Curtis. But he was almost never there. That's what I also heard. And so whenever he traveled in Europe, like in Stockholm, like in Germany, then I was...
He called you out?
Like he was just saying, and these were the times, you didn't have mobile phones, and sometimes it was so complicated.
So he called you from hotels saying,
yes,
Daniel,
from hotel.
come over to my hotel room today or tomorrow night.
And
without notice?
I still remember I was in Stockholm, and I had an appointment at a certain hotel where he stayed in. And then I came to the reception, and the people said, oh, we're sorry, Mr. Osipowicz cancelled his reservation. And at that time, I didn't know what cancel means. So I just looked up on the dictionary. Oh, cancel. That doesn't mean anything good. But fortunately, I was lucky that he left a message, so he could actually find him.
He left the hotel already, like goodbye. And you took the train all the way from Munich.
Yes. It was, sometimes it was really an adventure, but I'm just very happy that I could meet him and have some contact. Also for, studying something like the Russian repertoire, because that's really was so dear to him, and he was just living the emotions of the Russian music, and that's something that you can sense when you got a lesson.
May I ask you, what repertoire do you remember when you were studying with him?
Yes, I studied Tchaikovsky, Prokofiev, Rococo variations, then Prokofiev Sinfonia Concertante, which is such a big piece.
It's grandiose.
Incredible piece.
And you got a skill, you got a technique to burn. I love your music. You're very musical.
Glad to hear. And then Shostakovich, of course, both concertos, and then he always wanted me to study both concertos, actually.
You're very lucky.
And then Britten Cello Symphony. That's also one of his biggest pieces that he wanted me to play, and a piece that is not performed that often. And I think one should actually, just support it more to be heard.
You are one lucky boy. And being a German, may I ask you, who is your favorite composer or composers?
Well, I was now playing, as I told you before, I was at the anniversary of Krzysztof Penderecki, the great Polish composer, and I always tend to love the composer the most that I am working on at the moment. So Penderecki is very
modern.
Yeah, it's very complex music, but also very, in a way, very emotional and accessible, not only to the performers but also to the audience.
You mean intensive music?
Yes, very, very intense. And now I'm coming back to Dvorak, who I always loved. The way how a composer can naturally phrase and can somehow transport the musical message in such a pure and honest way, and that's something I love about Dvorak. And then I go back to Europe after this concert in Taiwan, and then I will play Haydn and Bloch, and so I'm always
Is it a Haydn C or D concerto?
It's Haydn D major.
And
the harder one.
Everybody, by the way, I love Daniel's Haydn cello concerto album, so everybody go buy it or hear it on the
buy
YouTube.
The CD.
I love the Haydn concerto D. It's really, and you arrange
nice.
two pieces of the
of Beethoven
piece. You put it in the middle, and you have a D and C.
Yes.
So
that was a few years back when I toured in Australia, so a little further than Taiwan, and I played many times with the Australian Chamber Orchestra, and then we recorded Haydn.
You travel around the world.
I make a lot of air miles.
You're on the road all the time.
Yeah,
almost.
It's a lot of traveling, but I enjoy it. And coming to Taiwan, and today, because I like to go jogging, I was just
you jog every day?
Yes.
This is what you do for exercise?
Yes. So I went out of the hotel and, just to...
Seriously, you jog on the street
in
Taipei?
Just on the street in Taipei and see the little restaurants there and the people, how they communicate with each other. It's very fascinating. I find that it's so interesting to see a different culture.
What other exercise do you do besides jogging?
I play soccer when I'm home with my friends, and then I'm also swimming a lot.
No wonder you're so tall. How tall are
That's
you?
why.
How tall
it's
are you?
1 meter 85, I think.
Okay.
So
and I notice you have a good cello hand because you're tall.
Long fingers, that helps.
So that's very easy to reach the octave.
The
in the
octaves.
Dvorak tomorrow.
For tomorrow, yes. So there will be.
So besides the Dvorak, is one of your favorite repertoire? Do you have a couple others?
Oh, it's Schumann.
Tell us about your first recording when you were 20 years old. What did you record?
Yeah, that was quite an adventure. I started with maybe the most demanding repertoire with Bach suites.
How could you be choosing the most difficult repertoire for cellists?
Well, I felt when I was asked to record for the first time, I felt that I should choose the repertoire that I spent the longest time with, and I started when I was 6 years old. I started with the G major suite to study. Yes,
the prelude.
And since Baroque music, since my mother was
that's her expert.
Is a harpsichord player, so Baroque music was always in our house. So I felt Baroque music was. I was growing up with Bach.
In her stomach, maybe. You listen.
I heard the Goldberg variations.
Harpsichord. The bottom. So you say, oh, cello is like my relative.
Yes. So yeah, I felt just very close, and I did the Bach cycle during the anniversary year in 2000, and played like all 6 suites. Yeah, all the solo suites.
Did you do it 1 day or 2 days?
Mostly in 2 days, and
still that's very demanding for the body.
Oh, it's demanding for the player and also for the audience, because it's such intense music. So yeah, and so I felt if I play the cycle in concert, why should I just?
So if you could play Bach well, and you could play everything else is right.
Well, it starts from Bach in a way. So if you work on that repertoire, I think it helps you to go along to the romantic music, and also even since I feel Bach is very contemporary in a way, very modern. Helps you with contemporary, with contemporary music as well.
For me, it's very soothing. Whenever I get homesick, and I open the piano, because that's my first love, and I play Bach, the World Tempo Clavier, anything.
Isn't it amazing how it just the chord, how it balances you out?
It's sort of you went through praying. I'm not a religious, but. Any piece, or you just play one page.
Yes.
And it could come. It just soothes.
It's fascinating.
It's fascinating
the calming effect that Bach's music.
The harmony of Bach is
the harmony
just so
and
amazing.
He's
a genius.
Yeah,
right?
the complexness of the complexity of his music, but it's always there's an inner logic, which somehow not only intellectually just grabs you, but also just from the emotion and the soul. It's just
exactly.
It's just timeless music.
Timeless. Being a German, that helps you to interpret it.
Yes, probably. But
and I'm not a German, but I think being a pianist, that helped me to understand Bach and understand all the. Whenever I study a cello piece, I have to go play the piano parts.
But it's very helpful that you do that, because Bach, of course, was a harpsichord and player himself. So he
also had the 4-line.
Yes. Yeah. He had the same in mind with the cello suites to have the imagination of actually 2 instruments communicating with each other,
really?
when you play the prelude of the C minor suite, for example, then you have to really the sense of more instruments interacting with each other. That's fascinating, I find.
Out of all the 6 Bach cello solo suite, is a number 3. Which one's your favorite?
That's also hard to choose, because I love them all. Maybe the most introspective, which the suite that I practice the most is actually number 5, the C minor. C minor suite.
It's kind of sad, right?
It is. It is.
A little, not depressing, but it's just so so
dark
sad,
in a way. Yeah, I like it.
And the musically, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
And technically, the most difficult one is number 6.
Yeah, and number 6, of course, that's
it goes
very.
So high.
It's amazing how Bach actually just expanded and just brought the instrument further. With each suite that he wrote, he discovered new elements of the instrument also, and what is possible to do. And and number 6 is such a glorious, wonderfully spiritful.
And the most difficult for left hand is number 6.
Probably,
almost.
Yeah.
So, for all the cellists who are watching now, what advice you have?
What advice?
For the cellist?
Yes. Go on and practice. No, it's actually, well, it's a mixture, I guess. It's a mixture between, spending some time at the instrument, but then also, enjoy the life. Yes, communicate with people and learn more, ask questions.
And find a good teacher.
Find a good teacher, of course. That's important.
Do you have time to teach now?
I do actually. I was now. We are doing the interview right in between the lessons, so I'm actually teaching whenever I can. When I come to an orchestra and they ask me if young cellists want to play for me, then I'm happy to do it.
And Daniel was only 15 years old when he won the Tchaikovsky #1 competition. You were only 15 years old, and you want to tell us a little bit about it.
A long time ago.
Yes. What is it like to won the Tchaikovsky #1?
It was just for me. It was the start to really seriously go into the direction of being a professional musician and professional soloist.
You were so sure that you want to be a soloist then?
Because before I could have imagined all kinds of other professions, but then after this...
cello? Do you think if you haven't made it as a cellist, what would you be today?
I think I would just do something artistic, maybe even acting, writing.
Architect.
Maybe architect. My uncle is an architect. I was always fascinated in that direction. Graphic design, that's something what I always
And you mentioned you were very good at math when you were a child. You were being a mathematician.
My father is a mathematician, so that was in the family.
I think it's better that you chose a cello.
Yes, better to stay with the cello.
We have a brilliant cellist like you. Yes. And after you won the competition, and Sophia Mutter took you in as a student. Were you? Yeah, she
heard about the prize that I won in Moscow, and then she invited me when I was 15 to play for her. And I found such a wonderful person and mentor and musician to help me along and to guide me for the coming years, finding the right teacher, the right instrument. So it was very fortunate that I met her in my life.
And was it right away, or when did she chose you as a trio partner?
Actually, that was in... God, I have to remember. She did a festival, and the festival was called Back to the Future.
Wait, what city?
And it was at different cities in New York, in Los Angeles, in Frankfurt, in London. And she just heard me again in a concert. She came to my concert, and then she asked me if I would like to join her in a trio. And
that's amazing.
Surprisingly, the first concert was at Carnegie Hall. So that was like, why should I do that?
How old were you when you played the concert at Carnegie Hall?
I was 22, I think.
You already recorded the Bach suites?
That was just after. Yeah. So so a lot has happened, and I'm just grateful that I could also visit so many places and to work with such wonderful orchestras and conductors also conductors and these musician friends. They can really inspire you and just bring you along and closer to the composer and closer to the music. That's wonderful.
For the Carnegie Hall Trio concert, who's the pianist? Do you remember?
It was Lambert Orkis, her Sophie-Mutter's
Yes,
long,
I remember he is
long time
always a
partner.
pianist
Piano
for the
partner.
Rostropovich, right?
Yes, exactly.
So
Yeah, he was also in Washington. I think he still lives there. And I still remember when I played the concert, and after that, the late Isaac Stern was there.
Oh, yes.
And then we all went out together, and he told so many stories about the history, also how he saved Carnegie Hall and how he fought for saving such an important cultural center in the world, and it was just fascinating.
Carnegie Hall is shut down for temporary now.
Yes.
But I hope, do you think will they reopen again?
I think so, yeah. And it's such a great acoustics.
It is.
I also happened to try and find my cello in New York, and I tried it at Carnegie Hall because it was played before by the long time professor Harvey Shapiro.
Oh, is this a Gofrila?
Yes, it's his Gofrila.
And what year was it?
1727.
1727.
So the Gofrila was made there.
Harvey Shapiro is one of my teachers. Long time ago.
And so a lot happened in New York somehow for me.
Anything could happen in New York.
Anything
could happen when you play the cello.
Yes.
Wow. Besides doing a very successful solo career, and also you do teach, and do you have a regular partner to play chamber music with, or it's always a case by case?
Actually, I like to still play with Sophie-Mutter and Lambert Orchestra. We did a trio tour last year, and then I play with different friends of mine, other violinists like Julia Fischer, Baiba Skride, with pianists like Simon Trepczewski, Jonathan Gillard. So also musicians from my generation that I grew up with, and we studied together, and we met at different music festivals, and it's wonderful to just keep on exploring the music.
Do you go to certain summer festival to teach now, or it really depends on your?
Yes, actually next year in Germany.
Very busy.
Yeah, in Germany I'm next year doing a masterclass in Schleswig-Holstein in the northern region of Germany. And so from time to time I like to, just settle in some place and just concentrate on teaching, or also learning new repertoire, which is not so easy if you travel a lot. So
but I think learning a new repertoire is kind of easy for you compared to our regular.
I don't know. Probably, yeah. You have to be as fast as possible.
Speaking of new repertoire, Andre Previn just wrote a cello concerto for you, and you're going to perform next month in New Jersey. Yeah. Can you tell my audience about it?
Yeah, it's a wonderful piece, and Andre Previn is also one of my close friends and mentors, and also someone who lives in New York. So again, we have that connection. And
is he still active, performing, or?
He's conducting still and composing, but I don't think he plays the piano anymore.
But he could sit down and have more time to compose now.
Yes, I think he's working on.
So he thought of you, this great, excellent cellist.
Well, I was asking him if he would be interested to write something for me, and then he said that he was always thinking of writing a cello concerto, and he has started a piece when he was younger, but never finished it. And so it came at the right moment. And then he
just finished it.
He just finished it. And
2013.
Yes, and next year next January we will premiere it in the States. The US premiere.
Maybe you will make this as in your album one day.
I'd love to record it. It's such, the music is very jazzy Hollywood style, and combined with
I thought it would be really
contemporary also elements, but very accessible to the players and audience. It
has a very difficult left hand and technique. This piece.
Lots of double stops and fast passages, but it's just fun to do.
Wow, that's amazing. We are looking forward
Thank you very much.
to come back in the near future in Taiwan.
Yes,
and
I look forward to that.
You have a successful concert tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
Everyone, tomorrow, November 30th, Daniel will be playing the Dvorak Cello Concerto in Taipei, Taiwan. Thank you so much for being with us, Daniel.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.